And Mr. Ifill, understand you've been charged with a jailable offense. You do have the right to remain silent. You are not obligated to make any statements to me. I do not hold it against you if you choose to exercise that right. I record bond hearings. These recordings may be available to people outside of the courtroom, including law enforcement and solicitor's office. That being said, making sure you understand those rights, is there anything you would like to tell me or ask me before I set your bond on this charge?
No, ma'am.
Alright, Detective Brian Haynes, I believe, was the first officer to arrive on scene after the incident. Detective Haynes, any statements for the court?
Good morning, Your Honor. Yesterday morning at approximately 11 a.m., the Department of Public Safety received information that there had possibly been a shooting incident within the confines of South Carolina State University. Numerous members of our department responded to that area to provide assistance. When I arrived in the area, a uniformed officer from Claflin DPS, along with members of their grounds crew, were speaking to another uniformed member of public safety. They indicated that an individual walking on Boulevard Street, later identified as the defendant, was possibly involved with the situation on South Carolina State. I was able to cut around the block and catch up with him on Amelia Street at Magnolia, at which time he began to flee. A short foot pursuit ensued, and the defendant was eventually taken into custody in the area of Dutton and Amelia Streets here in the city. At that time, a lawful Terry frisk was performed. Given the fact that we were investigating a shooting incident, it was reasonable to believe that the defendant may be armed. At the time he was contacted by law enforcement. A 9mm handgun was located in his left jacket pocket. At that time he was charged for unlawful carrying of a pistol. It's obvious that we do have concerns about the defendant. You know, there's an allegation that he was in the immediate flight from an alleged shooting incident within the confines of South Carolina State University at the time he was contacted by the Department of Public Safety. Also, upon attempting to make contact with him, he did flee on foot. So we do have concerns about flight at this time, Your Honor.
Thank you. Alright. Anything else from public safety? I take into account the fact Mr. Ifill has no criminal history. He does, live within a relatively short distance of the city and the jurisdiction of public safety. At the time of the incident, he was a student. He has stipulated that he does work during his breaks from school, and so those are factors that certainly work on his behalf. And the alternative, given the nature of the circumstances of the alleged incident at SC State and the circumstances surrounding Mr. Ifill's arrest, including him fleeing on foot from law enforcement, I do have concerns about whether he will appear for court, as well as concerns about the danger that he presents to the community. Accordingly, taking all of those factors into account, condition of bond will include no trespass on the campus of South Carolina State University unless accompanied by law enforcement. Bond be set $50,000 cash or surety. Mr. Ifill, I'm gonna ask that you initial the front, sign the back of this bond form. You're gonna get a copy of that as well.